are mucus free. We 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 are mucus free.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Mucus-free Life podcast, and I am Professor Spira, and really excited to be here. And we have a wonderful show for you today. A great friend of mine is going to be on the program, Ixteriolo Frutal, and we're going to talk about transition, the ups and downs of the transition diet, the reality of the Mucusless Diet Healing System transitioning, and how difficult it really is, how difficult it can be, and hopefully we will give you some inspiration and motivation and put things into perspective, because that's one thing that I notice amongst many raw foodists and people in some of these different plant-based communities. They do not put into proper perspective what it takes to properly, permanently, and effectively transition the body so that you can be off of pus and mucus forming foods, and really making that a priority and understanding that it's not an overnight thing. There's periods of time when you're going to be doing great and feeling on top of the world and being, oh wow, I'm been really clean. And then there's going to be other times where you're eating things that you know that you don't really want to eat it, but physiologically you're at a space where that's where you're at. You're overcoming a certain addiction and a certain craving. So we're going to get into that a little bit. And before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, NordVPN. And I haven't had a whole lot of sponsors over the years on where I would talk about other people's products, but this is one case where I think everybody needs to have a VPN, a virtual private network. If you don't have one of those yet, you need to have it on your computer, on your phone, because it's all about privacy. In this next era that we're moving toward, it is really about privacy, because that's what the powers that shouldn't be are trying to take from us. And the more that we comply and say, oh yeah, sign on the little line, hit the button, don't read the privacy statement, just click all of everything away. And if you have the illusion that what you do online is private and that kind of stuff, then you got to upgrade your thinking process, and also upgrade your computer. So NordVPN, I've used it for almost 10 years, I think 9 or some years, and I've used VPNs for about the past 20 years. And so they're very important. If you don't want to be spied on, you don't want all of your data to go directly to the centralized hubs of information where they farm information about you so that they can try to sell you stuff, then they can try to hold things over you at some point. It's a bad scene. This is how it was one of the easy, simple, affordable ways to prevent that from happening, to be able to maintain your privacy. So I definitely encourage you, if you don't have it yet and you're interested and you want to help the show out, click the link down below to get your NordVPN subscription. That helps out the program, helps out what we're trying to do here, but also helps you out, because if you're not into the VPN world yet, you need to be getting there, because things are getting crazy, and they're going to get crazier in terms of the censorship, in terms of government reaching in and wanting to know every little thing that you're doing in your life and trying to force things upon you, the coercion. You need to get this poison dosage to be a part of the clan, all this kind of stuff. I'm done with that. It's over for that. So we need to just maintain our privacy and protect ourselves wherever we are. So without further ado, I want to introduce all of you to my good friend Ixteriolo Frutal. And what's going on, Israel?
Hey, what's up, Spira? It's a great pleasure to be here as always and connect with the whole community. I hope I can be as fun and informative as your previous guest has been, and I'm here, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. So Israel is from Monterrey, Mexico, and has been practicing the Mucusless diet for a number of years. He is did the translation of the Spanish version of the Annotated, Revised, and Edited Mucusless Diet Healing System, and he's co-founder of a family-owned vegan pizzeria, Ixteriolo's.
Ixteriolo, yes.
And is one of the first vegan restaurants in Mexico. And he's an exceptional artist and chef. He's got wonderful art. You can see behind him the great some of the great paintings he's got back there. You can check out his Instagram. He's got a lot of fruit art where you make these mandalas in different forms out of fruit, which are really cool. And there's been almost a decade where he's been preparing food as a chef, making plant-based meals. And he's also an avid cyclist and into the physical fitness. So welcome to the show, Israel.
Thank you, Spira. That's a great description. I don't know where you got all of stuff, man, but yeah, I try to do what I can, For sure.
Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit about how you got introduced into the Mucusless Diet Healing System, how you got started, kind of as you were coming up, how you used to eat, kind of what kind of stuff that you used to eat, and then once you got exposed to the Mucusless diet and just the plant-based vegan path in general, what that looked like, how that came about.
Okay, well, I was raised with a typical Mexican diet, which is where I live in the north of Mexico, Monterrey. Especially here, people are quite addicted, quite lovers of meat. They love to eat their meat. They can have it for breakfast even. And there's this typical Sunday morning ritual where parts of Mexico, and Monterrey is one of them, there's this meat thing called barbacoa, which you won't believe. I don't know how, what things you do up in the United States, but this is something, maybe it's the first time you hear it. But barbacoa is basically the tail and the cheek and the tongue of the cow, and it's just they cook it for many hours. Actually, my dad used to do it. I hope he doesn't do it anymore, but he used to cook it in the house, and the whole house would smell bad. It's tongue. You're cooking a tongue. Yeah, for I don't know, a couple hours or so, and after that they just, I don't know what's the term in English, but ground it with a knife. They cut it up really, really finely.
Yeah, maybe mince it or something like that.
Right word, yeah. And they mince it really, really fine until the whole meat is ready to be put in your taco, and that's such a typical Sunday morning thing here in the north of Mexico. Wow. So that's where I'm coming from, where I grew up, and how the meat culture.
That's a tongue for breakfast. Let's make some.
Sounds bizarre.
Wow.
So common, you wouldn't even believe, man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, everybody who eats meat is like, oh yeah, taquitos de barbacoa in the morning, and I don't know, they could even have it with some beer, or I don't know. Things get wild,
Right.
Yeah, I grew up. I'm still living here. I lived in the United States for a couple years,
Mm-hmm.
from 2010 to 2012. I was back in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I never really questioned my diet until 2011, I think is the year I started to think more about it. But yeah, before that, I was just eating, the scrambled eggs and the pancakes and the cereal and chocolate milk and whatever, meat, pizza. I don't know. Mostly in Mexico, we eat a lot of beans and tortillas, corn tortillas for the tacos. So that isn't as bad, but still I was eating tons of mucus and tons of pus-forming foods, Yeah, man. It's Mexico, a lot of meat consumption.
Now, what about, were you eating, what was your fruit eating habit at that time, or your vegetable eating? Did you eat any fruits and vegetables, or that was just sort of like an afterthought where you would have a little bit here and there?
Good question, man. That's a really nice question because, well, we can go back to when I was a baby. There's this video of me just digging in some scrambled eggs with papaya. Yeah, yeah. I don't know where I got that combination from. I just know that in the video, I seem to be enjoying it, So,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was when I was a baby. Then I don't think it was a habit. God forbids that, I don't think it was a habit. But I did that, and basically fruit was just dessert of some sort, like something you eat after a meal, or you definitely wouldn't eat a meal of like a fruit
meal of fruit. Yeah.
But there's this tendency here in Mexico. Maybe you've seen the chili powder that I'm gonna mention, but it's called Tajín. It's really common in the United States too. It's, I think, a worldwide product because of how popular it's gotten. But it's the most popular chili powder brand, and people, I don't know, they open the mango, they cut up the mango, they cut up the pineapple, they cut up, I don't know, even watermelon, anything, and they put it on
there, yeah.
They pour the whole chili powder, and that's very common for it to happen here. For the fruit vendors in the streets, they give you the fruit, but also ask you for chili or like syrupy chili, like spicy. We like spice, man, and it's basically in everything. But to me, having it on fruit is just like putting fruit on a pizza or cooking fruit in like the watermelon in the barbecue grill, like it's one of those things that I don't know when you think of doing that, like doing fruit like that, but I don't know, as long as they're eating some fruit, I guess it's not as bad, not the best way to have it. And that was it, man. I was eating like the fruit powder with chili powder, some here and there grapes or mango was definitely on my list. It's a very common fruit here in Mexico, Ataulfo mangoes, and also some called Manila, which I think are from the Philippines or something, like Namdok Mai kind. And yeah, man, fruit was just
kind of there. You have it if you feel like it. So when did you start to make a change, or did you have any health issues, or did you just get exposed to plant-based lifestyle and you knew it was for you? You saw it and you were like, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, thankfully, thank God, I didn't have any medical condition that I needed to treat or anything. It was just, as you say, I got exposed to this information through, I believe, first thing it was Earthlings documentary. I watched it. It made me go vegetarian, tried a little dabbling in the vegan diet, but I was mainly focused on not eating the meat, And That was on late 2011, I believe. And from there, I started watching more YouTube channels that talked about a plant-based diet, mainly like fruit people, like 80-10-10, who eat a ton of fruit, and Harley, the durian rider, Life Regenerator. Some of those fellas that promoted, or yeah, I don't know if they still do, but promoted back then the fruit eating, you know. And I watched that, and I was still like, should I do it? Should I not? Like, you know, jumping, like just putting my toe on the water to see.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 16 when I went vegetarian, and I think I turned 17 just before going raw vegan. Yeah, I was 17. Because I remember when I turned 17, my aunt visited. We had like a family gathering, and my aunt came with a big cake, and she's like, "This is your favorite cake, you know, like it's a version of Milky Way that some bakery does around here, and really popular among fellas, and imagine like trying to do the vegan diet and you're still not 100% like into it, and then your aunt comes with a big ass cake and it's like, hey, happy birthday, your favorite cake."
Yeah.
And, like, I was quite in a situation, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
of course could have right now, and yeah, it's been a while since I think I would have just said no. I'm not into it, thank you. I appreciate the gesture, but we can share it or you can have it. I don't know, you know, but right now. But back then, as I wasn't too into it, I just ate it, you know. I digged in, and I remember my cousin, who is not vegetarian or anything, he's bigger than me, and he was like, "Oh, so what about the vegan diet?" You know, like while I was eating the cake, and making me feel worse for being eating it, and in my mind it was that kind of hippie mentality, Buddha, Dalai Lama thing, where they say, they offer me meat, yeah, I shall eat meat, but yeah, and it's not what I was. Yeah, back then I didn't want to offend my aunt.
Right.
I thought that was an offense, but yeah, that was like my last things I ate as a non-vegan, and I had this weird experience where my mom and my grandma used to cook pinto beans for me and my family, because they knew, well, we are going vegan, trying to go vegan, and beans, well, they believe they have a lot of protein and you need to eat your beans, you know. So they prepare the beans, but there was a secret ingredient that I didn't know about until, I don't know how many weeks I ate those beans, but one day my mother was looking at my grandma with a weird face, kind of smiling, I don't know, weird, you know. And you know when your family, you know them, and it's like, hey, what's happening? And she's like, nah, nothing, no, don't worry. And my grandma kept like this smirk, I don't know, like this yeah, and I was like, nah, just tell me what's going on. and they told me, like, I don't know if sometimes or if they always did it, but they cooked the beans on that occasion with pig lard. I don't know. Yeah, and it's common for people to do that around here, so you're not safe even in like, if you go to a non-vegan restaurant because of family or something and you want to order beans with corn chips or something, it ain't gonna happen, you know, because most use that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Thing, you know, and it's of course part of the industry. They want to use every single bit. They don't want to lose anything. The bones shall go to gelatin stuff, and
Mm-hmm. Right.
so they don't use a single thing. Everything has to sell. Everything.
Right.
Big, large,
Yeah. So basically, did you not eat those beans, or did you eat them, or you were already eating them and then found out that was in there?
I was already eating them. I stopped eating them. Of course, I got really pissed at both of.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as you can be pissed to your family members who weren't trying to harm you, but yeah, I was like how many times have I eaten these beans cooked with pig lard, And I was thinking in my head like, yeah, I'm vegetarian or whatever, but yeah, after that I was watching more of the raw food videos in that period of time, so I was so mad and so like determined to like I'm gonna
Yeah.
about it, so I went raw vegan and I was like, fudge all of this. I'm just going straight to the fruits and vegetables, and yeah, first like I cold turkey, like not even trying the vegan diet for some years or something. Which right now I feel I'm paying the cost.
You're back, yeah, back to that, yeah.
Back there,
yeah.
And yeah, man, I just went cold turkey, never looked back. I stayed in that diet for 2.5 years, I believe, 100. And I didn't mess around. I wanted to be 100%,
yeah.
I just wanted to get that satisfaction of being 100%.
Right. Because now when did I meet you? Were you in that? Was that your raw period?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know because I think I was trying to fit in. Yeah. I read the Mucus Diet in 2014, I think. And I was trying like, nah. I know Professor Eric said that raw fanatics and this and that.
Right.
I can do it. I can.
Yeah.
Work this out, But nah, I was just fooling myself because it was like I had the cooked mucusless options that Aaron was offering, but I was like, nah, I want to be raw. I want to stay raw. And Christina, fully raw Christina, has been like for many years, and many years. They are black belt raw foodies,
Yeah.
So I kept that idea in my mind, and I think that's when I wanted to like remain raw, but then I was eating the avocados and I was like, this is mucus forming according to the Mucus diet. So I was just like not knowing what to do until I surrendered, like I let go of the raw food thing. And
now, so when did you actually read the Mucusless Diet Healing System book, and who gave it to you, or where did you hear about it?
All right, it was the year 2014. I found out about the diet because I was scrolling through some videos. I think it was a video about breatharian or something like, I don't know, some video. And one comment mentioned Brother Air and his 40-day fast. And I just was curious to know what was going on, who was Brother Air. I searched for him on YouTube. I watched one of your Immortality Pipelines video where he was like really deep. He still is, but back then he was like such, like you put such passion,
Yeah.
And yeah, it I don't know, I heard what I needed to hear and what it resonated so much with me. So that's when I was like, let's search for the Mucusless Diet. I think I read the PDF, but I don't like PDFs much because, I'm more into reading physical book. So I ordered it. I think it went to the United States, and my cousin who lives there brought it to me. And I wanted to read it in a day, the whole thing, because it was so interesting to me hearing such perspective. It was more of a open-minded perspective, not as you militant, like you gotta be this and
Right.
your raw food is, and if you eat cooked food,
You're out. You're out
yeah,
of the family.
anymore, yeah. So I read it, and I think I actually opened Facebook not long before that, because I had been off social media with raw foods. I opened it and I got into your Facebook group, and it was so chill, I loved it since the beginning. It was such a comforting place for me, and shared some poems. I believe in the beginning I shared some poems, and inspired by my practice on the Mucusless Diet. And you contact me because of the translation, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah. It's taking me back to back to the 2014 days and 2015, and so this is a real important testimony to hear for people that are, if you find yourself stuck in some of these more extreme kind of radical spaces. And for us, like Eric talked about, the radical or fanatic raw foodist, we're not against raw foodists or ism or raw foods. Most of what we eat is raw. We just don't think about it like that. And we don't villainize and think that all cooked food is created equal, because it's not. There's a huge difference between cooked beans with lard and cooked collard greens or steamed spinach or cabbage or something like that, baked cabbage. It's very different. And one leaves behind slime and turns acidic and nasty in the body, and the other is doesn't do that and can actually help broom things out of the intestines and help things eliminate. So it's very very different. And so so you were getting into some of our materials. You joined the group, and then I'm trying to remember if you reached out or I reached out, or I guess I don't even remember how that happened.
You reached out and was like, you wrote a good poem. I really dig your poem. And I don't know if you're interested in translating the Mucusless Diet. And of course I was like, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't even think twice. I wasn't like thinking of, am I getting paid? What's going to happen? Like, I just wanted to translate it, and get my hands on it and do some service for the community, because honestly, I had a hard time like telling people, read this book, and some of them would be like, I don't understand English, I don't speak English, and trying to bring this into my local community, it was a really nice, unnecessary thing to really, and it was nice for me to do it. It was a pleasure actually, because I got to work with my, she passed away, but my grandma, my great aunt, my grand aunt, and my grandma both did work on the book, because they were teachers back in the day, and so I showed them a little. They got to know some of my life, through the book, and well, I don't want to deviate, but my great aunt, she definitely benefited from the practice, from the book, because she was gonna be placed in what's it called, like the elderly, like the place
like a nursing home.
Yeah, a nursing home, and they were gonna let her just like, you're on your own, and she was sick. she was gonna put also on a dialysis, I think it's a word.
Yeah.
and she wasn't filtering, and I remember the first time I saw her after I knew she was sick, she just looked at me and with blank eyes, like she didn't even know who we were and didn't recognize us, and she was like foggy, like many gases I believe were in circulation in the brain or something. And of course I knew what to do, or I was like, let me try to do something. And she was into, like, I put her on a strict regimen without her knowing, because she wouldn't have agreed honestly, but just we changed her diet, and she was feeling so bad, she didn't even notice we were giving her only fruits, Yeah, it was like watermelon for breakfast, for lunch, and pears and figs and many fruits, mostly juicy fruits like papaya. And I don't know, it was a matter of weeks, and she was such a different person, such a different person. And it basically, I believe, and many people, many family members believe, that it changed her life, because she was told, like, you're down to this path, dialysis and being on bed, watching the TV and stuff. But we actually helped her live her last years were lived better, not in dialysis.
Yeah, that's great, man. And that's the power that people don't realize, like, when it comes down, is we talk a lot about there's the lifestyle, and that's what we try to get people to get into when you're younger, so that you can have longevity, you can stay younger longer. And but for folks that are really suffering or on their deathbed, this becomes the last resort. It's like this is the last opportunity. And so I appreciate you for sharing that.
She wasn't doing the enemas, If she had done the enemas, have been much faster, and that change would have been more evident at first. It took some time for the fruit to move everything and start eliminating all the stuff that was making her feel bad. But enemas are something that most people are like, nah, right away, like, I won't get into
Is
it.
that the folks in Mexico aren't really, they're not really on that.
Yeah, because of the men, particularly because of the macho mentality.
Yeah.
Something, like in my behind or whatever, and it's like, you don't even know. Like, if you knew, but what I could do without the enemas, because I remember you talking about the laxative effect, and Eric also talks about the laxative effect of dried fruit and the juicy fruits mixed. Like, you eat first the juicy or the dry, and then...
Well, if you have the dried fruit and then follow it up with juicy fruit, yeah, and
I didn't give her, like, she didn't eat the apples, but with the what's the word for, I forgot the word in English, but which are like big raisins, what's
prunes,
yeah. I gave her prunes. I told my mom, go and give her some prunes, because she hadn't gone into this was when she was in the hospital, and she hadn't gone to the restroom in 2 weeks, I believe.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's holding much, a lot of things, and the prunes just like open the gate, and everything flowed. And my uncle was taking care of her that night after my mom left, and he was like, no, you like mad because she had gone like to the restroom and didn't go she didn't make it to the toilet, and there was mess around. But I'm like, dude, who cares if she made 2 weeks without going to the restroom? Like, since like, how do you even consider that normal, or like shouldn't do something about it? Like, mm-mm. But yeah, I try to do what I can, and I help her. But when she felt better, like she got strength and she was back to the game, she started eating pus again, and she was like,
Right. Yeah.
nah, I don't care if this kills me, She was straightforward, like, I wanna eat this right now, and
Mm.
it makes me happy to eat it. And it was a little, she wouldn't eat much, like,
Mm.
basically. I think that helped a lot, but eventually that little became an obstruction that she couldn't handle, and yeah, she passed away.
Mm.
But at first, I mean, we she was given another chance, and definitely more years of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, I wanted to show everybody what the annotated version looks like, because we haven't talked a lot about it. There's a lot of people don't even know it exists. But yeah, this is what we got here. The Spanish language.
Really nice.
Mucus-free Diet, yep. Translated by Israel Frutal. So yeah, and so if anybody out there, if you know people that speak Spanish, or you want to get your hands on this one, you definitely want to get a copy of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm like in the business. I spend a ton of time in the kitchen, like making pizzas and stuff. But my mom is the one who has contact with our clients, our customers, and she loves your work. Honestly, my mom is like really a fan of your work, and she applies what she like in her ways, because she still smokes cigarettes, and she a vegan diet like 99% of the time. I don't remember the last time she ate something non-vegan, but she isn't like, I'm vegan, she just eats as clean as she can most of the time. Doesn't eat much fruits and vegetables, but she's learned that truth about mucus the hard way, because if she's noticed that when she eats at night, let's say after 9 or something, and she eats something fatty, even if it's avocado, like something fatty, she gets this headache, and she believes it roots from a bad dentistry. Like someone didn't know how to treat her right, and some problem rooted from that. But a trigger is mucus-forming foods for her. Like when she eats those, she gets this really big headache at night and doesn't quite sleep. So what I was going with all of this is she does what she can, and with the customer she's like, hey, you should read the Mucusless Diet, like, yeah, to many people, and there's several that are not like messing around, and they look for the book, and even like I think in your face buy the book on Amazon, like they really like it. I'd only heard of one couple that came and said, oh yeah, I know Professor Spira's work and the Mucusless Diet, and my boyfriend lost like 60 or I don't know how many pounds. Like he was really overweight and lost most of it through fasting, and I was quite surprised to hear, because it's, I believe, the only people. Others I've heard are raw foodies, but like the Mucusless Diet are the only folks I've heard.
Yeah, interesting. So talk a little bit about kind of your transition. You got your early days of the raw days, and you start getting into the Mucusless Diet. Then sounds like you start transitioning into kind of an extended mucus lean type of period. So let's hear a little bit about that.
I feel exposed, man. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is, and that's the reality, because I did feel bad in the beginning, like you mentioned. Like sometimes you feel bad because you know you shouldn't be eating those foods, but still physiologically you're attracted to them, and you're like, this is not the best for me, but you're still there, you know. So I'd say most of the reason why I haven't been eating as nearly as clean as I used to. I won't say it's stress, because everything is an excuse, because when you really want to do something and focus, like laser focus, you do it, you know. But definitely a factor for me, I consider it to be stressful work. I work a ton of hours a day, like only rest on Monday and Tuesday, but the rest of the week is like minimum 10 hours a day working. And kitchen work is so exhausting, you know, and it's hard.
And you're pretty much preparing food that whole time, or you like prepare food? I know you used to ride your bike delivering. It was like the delivery service.
Nah, I never had a delivery service. That was just for, I rode my bike and got my food, but now I don't even have time for that, you know. Like, every time it gets more and more busy to be like to be running the business. And yeah, man, I mean, I still eat my fruit for breakfast. I still do my enemas here and there, but I'm not nearly as strict, or not as strict, just as disciplined as I used to be back then. And I've been trying not to over relax about it, but because it's in my mind, you know, like I should do better, and I should definitely eat less of this. And it's not like I eat the worst diet. I try to keep it pretty plant-based, but still it's not the romaine lettuce with cucumber and just you know.
yeah
That's not enough for me right now. I feel that when I'm eating, you know, like I know I need to transition back to that being enough, because at some point I even did the 160 days like 4 years ago of juice fasting.
Yeah.
No, it's just a matter of really focusing. But I guess right now my focus is like in so many things, and I lost track, you know, and something really important for me as a mucusless diet. I really lost track of it and just deviated and started eating many mucus-forming foods, you know, and having a pizzeria, running a pizzeria, the best place to be experiencing that, you know, and it doesn't help. And I wonder, like, why didn't I open a juice bar or like a salad, something, you know? But honestly, I mean, I could have done that, but, and maybe in the future I will, we don't know, when I have more time and leave Ixteriolo's running by itself. But for now, I think it was what people really needed, and pizza is such a classic food worldwide, you know. And
and I think I remember us even talking about that when you had first opened it, because you had considered that, and you were like, well, there's not a market yet for that, you know, where you're at in Mexico, or was it that where, like, if you're in Miami, you can open up a juice bar or open up a raw food joint or a vegan restaurant or something. And I know you were looking into doing a more of a traditional vegan kind of restaurant that would have had more stuff and salads and that kind of stuff. And then that didn't work out, but you sort of found a sweet spot that you're like, okay, we can because we can appeal to folks and get them transitioning to something. And
something, I mean, it's only pizza, but like 20% of my customers aren't vegan, you know, and honestly, to me, that's like, whoa, I'm making them eat vegan pizza, which is only tapioca cheese and homemade fresh tomato sauce, and the bread, of course, that's what's very mucus forming, which is white flour based, the pizza dough. But I mean, I put a ton of vegetables. I also have some styles that are definitely not part of the mucus.
not recommended. Transition.
Like I haven't had like I might eat many mucus forming foods, but it's a pride of mine, like a personal satisfaction to know like I haven't eaten white potatoes or white rice in almost a decade. So
Nice.
yeah, like that's, and for example, we have fries, and I don't eat fries. It's not something that I'm really into, and the whole menu has just gotten to be something that I'm more like looking at and preparing it, but not being a part of like consuming it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's and there's a lot of people that have that that either work in the food industry, or I mean, there's folks that practice. Someone recently, I think they quit that job, but they were delivering pizzas for like Domino's or something while they were trying to get into the Mucusless diet. And it's one of those things where wherever you're coming from, see, this is the real life. This is the real stuff where.
Yeah.
Where it's like we have to. Then the next part is, to me though, is the plan, sort of looking into the future and lining things up to continue to transition. Where you're kind of like, okay, this is the reality now, but where am I going? What's the direction? If it's, for instance, if for folks that live in terrible climates where it's cold all the time and snowing, then you might have a plan where it's like, okay, in 5 years, I'm going to have enough saved to move south, move somewhere else that's warm, but that's part of the planning process. And, so not being so hard on yourself where you're at, but it's like, okay, this is where I'm going, where you get that real clear, defined idea of and vision of where you want to be. And how you're going to get there, and then take action on it, and that's the main thing.
I mean, recognize what's not making you go or stay on track or eat better. Like notice what triggers you to going back to the foods you shouldn't be eating, and just you can accept it, and it's part of your cravings and part of your personal transition,
Mm-hmm.
but still you gotta think of the future and how you wanna overcome that, and for me it's definitely like looking at having less stress on my day, because I know stress can lead me to eating corn chips with refried beans, not on pig lard, but still refried beans, and
right.
It's something I noticed, and when I notice that, I'm like, oh, okay, so I gotta do something about it, and not just stay all like relaxed about it, and not to harm myself, but I don't want to be too loosey and forget about that transition, and that I'm definitely doing something. And
I mean, and it's like the principles, the better than a lot of people, and so you kind of how to. Now, if brother Air was here, he'd be like, man, do your enemas, get into the enemas again, and just get a consistency with those, because that just kind of helps control those other cravings, it's because it's not like those cravings go away altogether immediately, but just to keep, the more that you keep the stuff moving.
Yeah, it's true. Enemas are super important, and I definitely used to do them daily back then, but I deviated. I started doing them less and less. I still promote them, and many people around me have done their first enema thanks to my recommendations, and I also get them their first bag. It's a disposable one, but it's like, hey, here's your bag. Just get some distilled water and go for it. And my girlfriend has done it, and many people that I know, my mother, like it's still part of my philosophy, and it always will be. But personally, I need to get back.
You fell off the wagon just a little bit.
yeah, definitely. But I'm also thinking like, dude, I don't know if this is part of like a relapse or transitional blockage, or like you say, I really have to move that with the animals, and because I think of people back in the day in the Mucusless group, and for example, Doug Bronson or I don't know, Ronnie Rask. He used to write Tobin, Tobin. I haven't heard about Tobin
well, Tobin, he's still, as far as I know, they're on point. He came to the in 2019. They came him and his partner came to the Arnold Ehret Day celebration. And but what's interesting that I noticed, a lot of folks that go down this path, it's almost like there's this natural part of if you aren't really on social media for business purposes or as an educator, and where you have a passion to do that, to put up with it, you get off of it. And so there's a number of people that were back in the day you talking about that I know they still practice a diet, but they've gotten off of social media. They're just, I'm done. They just get off. And so that's good for them. And that's elevating. It's not the greatest for getting the Mucusless diet information out in the world, because it's like as soon as you evolve and you get cleaned up, you're like, I don't want to be on here anymore. So it's very understandable, but it's one of those things where I've kind of been like, all right, I'm on here for one reason, because if it wasn't for the Mucusless diet or my music, I wouldn't be on social media like that. I just, but there's a purpose, and it can be used as a good tool. But we do have those it's kind of the fallen soldiers and folks that were really, really into the diet at one point, just real hardcore, just really into it and this kind of stuff. And as Brother Air often says, he's like, okay, we're gonna see in 10 years if you're still as passionate about the diet as you were when folks are in those first couple years of doing it. And that's unfortunate. That's true, because there's a lot of folks they don't get it. They either, and in some of those cases, there were folks that they would refuse to do like what you're doing, like what they refuse to just take that step back, and you get into sort of it's like a vegetarian type of mode or vegan mode or whatever, and because there's ways to eat like that where you're still acknowledging the principles of the transition diet. Because it's like if all you do, if you get up and you're eating, it's like, you're not doing the Mucusless diet if you get up and you're having like Impossible sausages in the morning and with pancakes, vegan pancakes, and then in the afternoon you got it's like if you're eating like that with all the no, you're not practicing the Mucusless diet. But if you are eating, you're eating your fruit in the morning, and in the afternoon maybe you have a salad with some cooked vegetables and maybe some beans or maybe some type of mucus item. But if your mucus items are controlled, and like I always say, always have a big salad with it, with whatever's happening, and monitor its elimination. That's part of those principles, that even if you start to eat less than perfect, that's those are things that you can continue to do. And as you do progressively over time, your body is still going to change and clean itself up, and you get to a point where you can't really handle some of that stuff anymore, the older stuff, or you go back and try something processed, and it's like, oh, I can't do that. And like you said, you've stayed off of the white rice and the white potatoes, and you would be in serious pain if you went back and messed with them.
I try to do my best. I know I could definitely do better, but I don't put myself down too much, because as you say, there's folks who have definitely gone all the way back to the meat eating and the eggs, and blaming, like, nutritionally justifying it, like
Right.
the omegas and the protein and this and that, and it's just like, nah, you just couldn't handle the diet, that transition. You couldn't work it for you, and were too aggressive, maybe. And for me, it's just about still eating my fruit, my salad. What I notice is that sometimes, as you say, it's prolonged, like it prolongs more than I would like to, but yeah, man, it is what it is, and I don't forget about the mucusless diet and the basic principles. Don't drink water or liquids with your food, and do your enemas here and there. And the salad is very important to have the salad. So because if not, you tend to eat tons of mucus-forming foods, and the salad helps you fill space, in the stomach. And yeah, I'm not into, like, many people might think I'm fruitarian or something, and nah, I wasn't ever a fruitarian. Like I had periods of times where I ate only fruit and only juice or only water, but nah, I worked the transition with many different foods, and what I mean by going off the wagon is just using more mucus forming foods than I used to back then, because
Right.
then it was more like quinoa, or and part of the reason why I feel I'm going through this right now is because I went cold turkey to the raw foods, which is not a good idea. Maybe you want to experience more of the vegan foods before heading that way. And then I went to the mucusless diet, really strict, like, yeah, enemas every day, and I was really disciplined about it. But it came at, like, a toll had to be paid, and
Yeah. It's like
if
now.
that,
Well, it's like, and that's when we say, like, okay, now you're into the diet. It's like now you're in, because when it's early on and it's real easy and everybody, oh, this is great, and it's like, wait a second, because it gets harder, and that's where the sophistication of the transition comes in. All the stuff I talk about to try to make that process, to understand it and make it easier and better. But I'm looking on here. So is some of the pictures that's on your Instagram, are these like some of the, like, the transition type of stuff that you would eat? Like,
of course, it looks pretty, and it's I got inspired by looking at some Buddha bowls, what they call, and I was using spinach, and that is like sauteed spinach with a little olive oil and falafel pieces with a cream, and garbanzo chickpeas with tomato sauce and peanut butter, just a little scoop of it, and baked sweet potato, and under all of that is a huge salad.
Okay, yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
It to help, like, not make it too sludgy, but still it's not the best. It still is combining too many ingredients, and I know that, and it's like you say, I know all of these principles, but still it's like being rebellious about it, and not following it to the T, but I don't feel.
Yeah, and it's like that internal battle, it's that internal where you're like, and that's the only place where the enemas keep it moving forward, to where your body, it makes it harder to tolerate as many mixtures, so then you're like, okay, maybe I'll take one of these out. But this is a realistic, good transition at this stage, at this point. And because early on in my transition, I ate plenty of beans. I ate a lot of beans, And refried beans, regular beans, I never always was conscious to stay away from lard. You had to make sure to look at the can because, if it's not, it'll be lard. It'll say lard on there, so stay away from those. But, and those are things that I'm always open to talk about I don't always get questions about that part of my transition because people are all most interested in fasting and they're interested in like, well, what do you eat today? And it's like, well, I could tell you what I eat today, but that doesn't tell the story because I used to eat in the early days of the transition. I was eating a lot of beans, but I was always have a big raw salad with it. And I would always have, and I was doing the enemas every day, and so, but definitely, and then it got to a point where my body was just like, why don't eat this? Like, just because it was create so much just bloating and gas and just like, and it wasn't coming out and the enemas good anymore. And so my body just got to a point where it was like, okay, you're done with beans, at least the way I was eating them. And, but had to go through those periods, and so I'm not promoting, and I'm not, and this is where it gets delicate with talking about the transition in the public way, because it's like, well, look, I'm trying to show what's possible, and I did a real long video where I was at what I eat in a day on the Mucusless Diet, and I went sort of like year by year of what that looked like for me as a case study, because I don't eat the same way that I ate years 1 through 5 as that I eat now, 19 years in. But this is all, it's like transition mode. And,
those persimmons are from the garden. Yeah, my mom waters the garden like every day, so this time we got a good harvest. They're still ripening, most of them. I actually have one here. Let me show you. So this is the one from the garden. Yeah, this is getting ripe.
Yeah.
And this is a commercial one from probably California or something.
Yeah.
So the difference is the type of persimmon. I don't know. There's like 2 types. This is, I don't know which is Hachia and Fuyu, but yeah, it's one of each. And to me, homegrown, it's much better. Like, not many homegrown fruits, but peaches, which were much, much sweeter than the store-bought. And papayas, much more sweeter. And it's what you get from good, like taking time to grow it and water it, and not just a production line of fruits. But it's, we got some space in the garden for the fruit trees, and it was from the very beginning when we remodelated. I don't know if that's the word. We rebuilt the place.
Renovated,
Yeah, and it was the main focus from the beginning. Like, let's plant fruit trees for the future, And they're right now, most of them give some good fruits.
Yes, that's nice, and so that's a good consciousness, because that we all need to learn from, is start growing our own food, and growing our own fruit.
Now my dog wants the persimmons.
Yeah.
Put them away.
That's funny.
All right.
So here we'll look at one more. We got the
stuffed sweet potato with and vegetables, and a side of broccoli that's done steamed broccoli. That with just a little bit of avocado. Yeah, it's like it's not as transitionally clean as you can be, and food combining is definitely not in there, like I didn't respect that much, but because the cleanest way would be no avocado on the salad, maybe just a drizzle of olive oil, and the potato just baked on its own with maybe whatever lemon juice or something. That's how I like it. but sometimes I want to go a little more chef, you know, a little more gourmet,
Yeah.
and do something that's beautiful, and it's already beautiful on its own, but the whole dish is not bad.
You get into the plating and, the art of it. Now I definitely have had, I mean, I had periods that where I was eating like where it looked like, no, it didn't look as pretty when I put it on a plate, but I mean, in terms of what is on here, I was eating this stuff. You know, this is for when I think of like years, like 3, 4, 5, I mean, that of practicing the diet, definitely was having, that kind of stuff, baked sweet potato, beans on the side, some steamed sauteed vegetables with a huge salad. That was that was a very common type of thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be suffering the whole time, you know, it's not about suffering, it's just like taking it at your pace, maybe recognize when you're going too slow and should do some harder work, but I rather live this way than the mentality of I have to stay 100% raw and I gotta eat clean, you know, and now like
and you even and you brought up some of the 80-10-10 folks and stuff, and that's a great case study in what happens when you don't abide by the rules of the transition. Is they created an entire dietary concept based because they didn't want to do the transition. So they'll say, well, I'll be raw until 4:00. I mean, it's basically, it's like all this, just avoid, just to call it what it is, transition. And then they was getting into, because they're real into the calorie theory, I guess they got into the white, going back to white rice and eating, I guess it's vegan pizzas or whatever they were doing with the white flour and all that stuff. And they really lost me when they started doing that. I was like, well, why just eat some cooked baked sweet potato or something? What's that? What's this white rice for? But yeah,
I know, man. And I mean, some people that don't follow the Mucusless diet have the school, like Dr. Sebi's teachings, you know, and they also agree that starches are no good, but it's different. This is a whole different thing.
right.
And that's what attracted me to it, because I don't tend to be a follower of ideas in general. Like, I like to read and inform myself and build my own opinion. And to me, this is like something that changed me forever, and I can't ever go back to the old ways, in my opinion. And it not only changed me, but also my family and the people around me. And that's something that doesn't have you cannot buy it, you know. It's the real deal. And I remember the first few days of the lockdown and the whole COVID thing, and I was like, I want to hear what Spira has to say about it, because I knew you had something good to say, you know. Yeah, when I looked into your videos, I was like, nah, this guy. Yeah, it's all true, you know. Like, I relate so much to what you and brother say, and it resonates so much to my inner standing or whatever. And yeah, man, I'm such grateful for having found the diet, definitely.
Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit about your artwork. We see some pieces back there behind you, and
yeah, that's basically the collection. I mean, you got Brother Air down there. I don't know if you can see. I could get closer if you want.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you can take us over there and give us a tour of your gallery.
All right, so we start with the mucus monster. It speaks for itself, you know.
Yeah.
What you feel when you are overeating mucus and not doing your enemas, you know.
Right.
And Then we go to the arid torch.
Mm.
There we go.
Yeah.
And that's basically just symbolizing the passing of the knowledge of the generations. And there's a torch, there's arid, and it's like, I don't know, like I try to portray the sun of somewhere, like some sort of sun in the universe. And then it's arid with the grapes.
Nice. Yep.
The background, and it's a portrait that's used in the Mucusless Diet, I think.
Mm. Yep.
And yeah, that's all what came through practicing the diet. I was inspired to paint this, and still have some more ideas, but time, I need more free time, or spend less time on the bike maybe. That's you, and Brother Air.
Yeah. Those blew my mind when you had sent those, when you showed us. I was like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah, these are one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
I like the details in the background, the air spirals. And yeah, that's the enema bag, which was actually my first
yeah.
Which became, I know you used it in your video. And it turned out to be nice, and I think of like other versions of doing that and applying the same like enema concept but differently. And yeah, I'm gonna keep painting. It's something I really enjoyed back then, and haven't done it because of time situation.
Yeah.
Time, but maybe I will get into it soon.
Yeah, that's something, the mucus-free arts movement is not dead. It's always moving. We got a whole bunch of new music that we're going to be releasing with the Professor Spira Brother Air Fire Music Project. We're going to start pumping out a lot more stuff. And we have Q. He's been the resident artist doing some mucus-free art as well recently. And so, yeah, man, that's, and I just, here's the, I went back to your 315 weeks ago. We had the, that was, when you posted up the raise the bag. And, that's a classic. Then we got that's classic too, the baked banana. Baked banana. It looks like was that baked apples and prunes in there? Is that
Yeah, and some jam, fruit jam.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my like basic, most classic stewed fruit dish. And if I want to go a little more fancy or a little more gourmet, I might just split open the plantain and put it up with the apple stew. Mm-hmm. Maybe top it with a little of that fruit jam. Yeah. It looks better, and in the end, it's gonna all mix in your stomach. So yeah, I don't know. I call it stuffed banana boats. Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of my favorites, and especially in the winter time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, these are some. Yeah, this is walking back into the history.
No, man.
Here we go. Some of the fruit art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I used to do them more often, definitely. And I used to go to the park. I started in my house, and then I went to parks, nearby parks. And when I had the car, and I just loaded the whole cases of fruit and went to the park, did the fruit art. Mm-hmm. On my birthdays, I used to also do some fruit art representing the number, like 22, 23. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That one was a really nice one. One of my favorites for sure. Yeah.
Now, how many people would be eating and drinking on this? Were you just like juicing a lot of it and eating it? Was this all you, or was this for the family? Like,
That's the question, the $1,000,000 question. Many people think it's all for me, but nah, I also give for my family. You know, they also dig in the fruit and the coconut water. I was the only one. Me and my older brother were the only ones who could open them, the coconuts. But it's not, the whole thing is not for me, and it takes like 2 weeks to finish. You know,
right.
Depending on how much I got, but depending on the system too. I don't know if that's
these look good. And that's we and me and brother Aaron would talk about that. We'd be jealous of all this fruit that you got down there. These pineapples. And I can make short work of pineapples. I can go through crazy amount of pineapples in a week.
These are really nice, and one is I've noticed over the years, fruit has definitely gotten more expensive. I don't know if you experienced that in the United States. It was already expensive where you're at, but definitely.
So how much is a pineapple?
Nah, it's still cheap compared to in the United States. I say like one pineapple not bought in the typical supermarket, but on the street, the fruit vendors should be at the most $2 US dollars.
Yeah, that's there's a so even we have, it depends on where you go because there's crazy price differences. So most of the pineapples that I get they have 2 for $4 or they're like 2 for $5, and so it's either like $2 or $2.50. But then you can go to a store up the street that doesn't have that deal. There's a particular store I go to that'll have that deal. If I go to another store or even like the Mexican market, it's like $5 for one, $4 or $5 for one pineapple, and so I avoid that and try to go to the store that at least has them for 2. But then I went to Puerto Rico. It was like $6. It's crazy. It was like $5 or $6 for a pineapple.
It's too touristic. I don't know, too tourist. And I also traveled a few months ago. I took vacations and went to the south of Mexico, to the peninsula, and it's super expensive. Like everything is expensive.
The tourist areas.
Yeah. You definitely want to avoid tourist areas when you're looking for not expending tons of money on fruit or food in general. Yeah, and then I went to that's 100 days and different like kind of messages I wanted to put out. The arid.
Yeah, this is you're in your yogi mode here. You look like you fasting and
I was full on like writing there, and it's nice to look at it, and I'm definitely wanting to experience that again, but right now, like in the limbo,
it's the transition. Because see, a lot of people think that wherever you're at, that you have to just keep going up and up and up and up, and they don't understand. It's like you're gonna get a taste of that. You go through a period, you get a taste of, you get into these fasts, and you go long period of time eating fruit. We don't promote that, but your body sometimes allows you to do that, or will call you to do that. And you experience that, and it's very heightened. You like, whoa, you just experiencing the full beneficence of the universe and the love, and it's a whole experience. And you can get addicted to that experience, but then your body says, okay, we gave you that experience. Now you have work to do. You see what's possible for you. You see how good it's possible to feel. Now let's go. Now you gotta pay for the reparations of your bloodline. You gotta really get into this deep cleanse, and then that's what it is. And I think people often don't understand that, where you experience those high levels to give you a taste, and then it's like, now the reality is you have work to do to attain that, so that you can live there. And there's a lot of people, they want to just live there right off the bat, where it's like, nah, you can experience it, but then you got work to do.
Yeah, it can lead to trouble. Like if you want to go too fast, and it's too much for you in like too little time, you're definitely gonna run into problems, and you see people showing like loss of hair or teeth problem or like that kind of stuff, and you want to avoid it and you want to take your time, because if you see it as I don't know why people get into it, but if you see yourself as practicing the diet for the rest of your life, you definitely want to think like way ahead, not in like a 30-day mentality or
right
30 years, 40 years. And if it takes, I don't know, a couple of years of a slower transition for you to get to another level and continue, and get over the hump, to me it's worth it, because it's only 2 years out of 50, 60, I don't know, like however much God grants you, but yeah, it's, you got time, and and I like the idea of, for example, I was thinking like next year I'm gonna really focus on it and stuff, but don't leave things for next year. Like you can start right away, like today or in the morning tomorrow, I don't know, but it's a restart every day. And I know sometimes you wake up and you're like all hyped and I'm gonna be mucusless, and by the afternoon you're eating your beans,
right, yeah, nuts and raisins, or your beans, yeah, yep.
It happens, and it's all right, I if I can get a message across, is take your time, and respect the principle as much as you can, but take it easy. It's not a race of any sort, like of no sort. So if you wanna really be here and not end up like eating chicken and saying it's because of the protein,
yeah,
take it easy and eat your beans, eat your sweet potato, eat your salad, your dressing. And because I often remember there's been times when you and Brother Aaron mentioned, like, we could have gone slower. We could have done it slower. Transition could have been slower. Personal path, so you had it that way, but it can be done it can take longer, and it's okay. It's all right if you take 5 years to get over beans, or 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah. And don't be alarmed if you could spend some time, you get off of something, you think you're off of it forever, and all of a sudden that craving, like 10 years later, a craving comes back, and you eat it again, and you might eat it one time and then never eat it again, or you could eat it that one time and then you could be eating it for a while, a little while. But what ends up happening is when that it becomes less and less and less. Now, the famous story is Brother Air with his 10 years into practicing the Mucusless diet. He, out of nowhere, he started getting this craving to have peanut butter and jelly on toast, because he was doing the toast as part of the Mucusless diet, and then Arnold Ehret mentions putting peanut butter on toast as if you need it for transitional purposes. And so he started doing peanut butter and jelly, which I couldn't do. I tried that early on, and that mixture didn't work for me at all. But he did that for several years. He was eating that. He would, during the day, had his fruit and all the transitional stuff. But then in the evening, with that evening meal, boom, it was time for that. You got into it. The toast with the peanut butter and jelly, and it was like, that's what the transition's about. That's what it looks like. And he just kept doing his enemas, and
I don't blame him, man. I never got into the peanut butter thing. I like jelly sandwich, and I always looked at it as pretty much from the United States, like not something that we Mexicans do, but it's gotten more into our culture lately. But when I tried it like a few months ago, I was like, oh, I see why brother got into this. It's really good, and it's nice. It tastes good, and it definitely can be addictive, and
Mm-hmm.
it can go out of control.
Yeah. And so luckily for my body, it just like, no, you didn't even give me the option to go too far down that road. But there's stuff that I eat or ate in my transition that Brother Air never ate or never would eat, and so it's just everybody's body is kind of on its own little trip. And I think here's what you were talking about, the
Oh, that's right.
the bananas or whatever, the plantains or bananas.
It looks nicer than having them separately, like a dish.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you put it, you split it and kind of put it in there, and then you could cut it and eat it with
People would eat that as a dessert, even in the pizzeria. Like you can fit in, like you can put something mucusless out there, and people,
Yeah.
But people mostly forget about the cooked fruits, and there's people that are too into the cooked fruits that forget about the raw fruits.
Yeah.
And you got both sides, but to me they have to be used. Like sometimes vegetables won't do it, and raw fruits won't do it either. And something called stewed fruits that does something to the fruit. I don't know, the cooking process. Raw foodies will say like it loses its vital energy or whatever.
Yeah, it's enzymes and all that. Yeah,
it just makes it more comforting and definitely denser. The energy you get is a little denser, but still keeping it mucusless. So it's key to the transition, and I wouldn't skip the stewed fruits. It's so important,
Yep, yeah, and you hit it right. Yeah, right on the nail, right on the head. Or many practitioners of the Mucusless Diet Healing System, even vegans, don't really consider eating stewed fruits or experimenting with these foods whatsoever. And that's a problem. And we try to rectify by just telling people like, hey, bake. That's why you sign up to get into the Insiders Club. One of the 5 free recipes you get, I'm pretty sure, is the baked banana surprise. Which was something that at one point, I had that almost every day or every other day for a while. I'd say years, but because I would have periods where I wouldn't do that. But there was a period, this was a very important meal, because that was helping me get off of other stuff, because it was filling. And I'd have 3 baked bananas. That was kind of my magic number. It was like 3 baked bananas, then like natural applesauce, and I wasn't making my own. It was like natural applesauce from a jar, and I would like try to get organic or something, and then dates, the real nice Majul dates on top of that, and that was the combo for me.
Yeah, definitely. And if you think about it, even if it's canned fruit or even if it's refried beans, or like, there's a big difference. You're galaxies away from your original diet, the ones you were on. And to me, having jarred fruit jam and not eating like dead body parts, it's a kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole, and that gets on my nerves when raw food folks would kind of talk like that, where it's like, well, I ate cooked food. No, what type of cook? Because not all cooked food is the same. Like you said, galaxies away, eating cooked bacon bits and cow tongue is way far away from eating some cooked, baked banana or baked plantain. It's a whole different reality.
I believe many raw foodies would definitely benefit from adding stewed fruits. Maybe if they don't want vegetables already, having raw. But the stewed fruits, you cannot miss it. Like, it's super, super key to maintaining sanity, I think, because sometimes you get like too intense and yeah, you get too hardcore that, dude, there's no need for that, and just bake 4 apples, 3 apples, stew it and add some raisins and chill, That's actually what I felt the first time I ate it. It was the first dish I decided to eat cooked right after like doing 2.5 years of the raw food. So I was, all right, let me do some stewed fruits, which is what I consider the least dense. Instead of the vegetables, instead of the beans, and going straight into it, I wanted to do it transitionally. So the first time I ate the apples, the stewed apples, I was like, this is it. This it like it changed my mood, my general energy. Like, yep, and it's not bad to feel. You're not meant to feel bad for eating something that's good. Like you say, it's not the same as eating a Beyond sausage than eating I don't know, steamed broccoli or something. There's many levels.
Many levels, yeah. As the kids say, there's many levels to this thing.
Even in the plant-based world.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, man. Well, this has been it's been great having you on here on the program, and kind of reminiscing a little bit, going through, and I definitely encourage folks to check out your Instagram, which is a lot of great. I think you have it on private, so they have to go through the screening process.
You're interested? Yeah, just send me a request and I will accept you and gladly follow you back. And I just wanna keep doing my thing and keeping it real. Like I could have just gone in here like, all right, I'm still like super mucusless and perfect diet and this and that, but it's not the point, like who cares? Like that's just misleading, because I've been in this thing for almost a decade now, and I can tell you, like, you will go through many different levels of eating, and you have to really accept where you're at right now. And if you don't feel good about where you're at, just think of how you're gonna change it and overcome your personal bump, and hump or whatever. It's been a pleasure to be on your podcast. I always watch your shows, and I can't believe I'm in here,
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, we always just really appreciated your vibe and what you bring to the table, and just the great in showing the food, because that was never my thing. Was not a big food showing person and making it pretty. It's not me or Brother Air. That's not what we do. And so it's always great to see you posting up the beautiful food, and in the transitional meals, as we even said years ago, that's something that we need more of, and more people coming forward to do that, just because that's not what we do, is really show off what we eat all the time and that kind of thing. And so I think that's great and it's important, and I try to reinforce it, going back saying like, look, like this is like what I used to eat in different periods of the transition. And the one thing that I always tended to do was I would visit, always make sure to visit mucus-free days. And so if I get in a mode where I'm eating the beans, I'm eating just all the mucus lean stuff, or I might even have some processed vegan patty or something with but I'm always going to have the big salad going on. And then I'd either maybe fast for a couple days and hit the reset button, or just do a bunch of enemas on a couple days, or I would just hit the reset button enough, or have the days where I'm eating nothing but fruits and mucus-free vegetables or something. It just sort of breaks it up. And so that was a technique that that I kind of get into in that kind of situation. But definitely, you know, there was those years of eating those things, and then there's still stuff that I eat today that's not perfect, as is everybody. And so it's just about the transition. And
it makes it more beautiful, in my opinion. Like, being real and being open, like, you know, it's part of it. You cannot just pretend you always eat like a piece of romaine, like straight romaine from the
right.
And just a couple of bites of cucumber, and like, we all have been in the standard diet, and we all know how addictive the food is. So it's understandable to want to eat something different other than leaves, you know, sometimes from time to time. And the goal, if it's your personal goal, is to be on the fruits and the vegetables, but the path to get there is not definitely gonna be exclusively eating fruits or vegetables, you know, like raw, not even to mention raw. I mean, I like the philosophy of fruitarianism. I do believe in it, you know, like only eating what Mother Nature offers, and that's leaving the seed for it to grow another tree and produce more fruits, and it's the most sustainable and delicious food out there, and the most ideal for the human beings. But yeah, you have to really not deserve it, because we all but gain your way to that diet, because you don't want to be promoting a clean diet of only fruits and vegetables and be looking like you're not happy, or physically you don't look. Because when I always looked at you and brother, you all guys always look good, you know, and to me that's important, because you want to have a good physical example. Personally, I used to show my dad some fruitarians, which of course I'm not going to mention any names, but he used to be like, I don't know, like, they don't look as healthy as I pictured it, you know, like. So, and with you guys, I can see how the transition has definitely done its job, you know, because you go too intense and things don't always end up as you expected, maybe. And yeah, just the moral of the story is take it easy, you know, take it easy, but just do it and live your life as you really feel happy without harming any other people, you know. Make your best and do your best and be happy. That's the idea.
Most definitely, man. So really appreciate you, man, and all the work you've done, and just keep doing your thing, you know?
Yeah. I'm coming back with more stuff. You'll see, Spira, definitely. And it's such a pleasure to be part of this community, which has definitely grown a ton. And I'm so happy to see how the videos have gone, well, not better. They were always good, but definitely more. Yeah, you put more work into them, and
the evolution.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I know one question. So how old are you now? Because I'm sure that's a question every people are going to be asking.
I'm 26 right now.
Okay.
I'm turning 27 in February. Yeah.
Nice.
But I've been in this for almost a decade, and I can tell you, you're definitely, if you heard of the Mucusless Diet, if you're interested in it, if you want to do it, don't think twice, you know, you're definitely on the right path, and you have wonderful mentors that are right now are here for you, you know, like, who knows in the future what will happen with the meta universe and whatever, you know, but
right.
But right now, you have like all these videos for you and all this knowledge available, so use it, you know, and be smart about it. Yeah, don't sleep on it.
All right, beautiful, man. So I appreciate you, and I will talk with you real soon again.
Yeah, see you soon, Spira. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right, so that was a great session there with Ixteriolo Frutal. Definitely check him out on Instagram. Give him a follow. Give him a like. Great stuff on there. And I appreciate you for tuning in. This has been wonderful to catch up with my good friend Ixteriolo here in front of all you, and hopefully that you've gotten some out of this discussion, because it's a very important discussion about the realities of transition, Mucusless Diet Healing System, things that often aren't obvious to people for some reason when they're coming from the raw food, and they've sort of, if they framed it as hardcore raw food. Like I said, I'm into that. It's not anti-raw food. It's just there is a reasonable and logical transitional methodology that a lot of people are missing out on, that people need to be able to sustain raw food and be more mucus free, because it's, for us, it's mucus free is the operative concept and the operative word in the destination. We want to be mucus free. So I'd rather see people have periods of being mostly mucus free, and if there's eating cooked mucus free foods, to me that's better than if you're raw but you're having 6 and 7 sitting down to a meal of like 6 or 7 avocados and big glops of what's it, the raw, some of the raw nut based yogurts, and the raw, it's like there's a transitional place for that stuff. But when you get into that and that's all you're consuming for years, and now the mucus is building up because this stuff is mucus forming. And so always encourage, check out Mucusless Diet Healing System. If you speak Spanish or you have Spanish family members or folks, definitely recommend forward them our Spanish edition of the Mucusless Diet Healing System that was translated by Ixteriolo, and as he gave that beautiful testimony of a family member of his that was able to improve their life at the end they had basically put her on when she was on her deathbed, put her on the Mucusless diet, and she was able to extend her life. She decided she's an adult. When she got better, she felt better. She didn't want to continue eating that way. She wanted to go back, as a lot of people do. A lot of people, that's been a tradition of the Mucusless diet. They'll use it to get off their deathbed. People will use it as the healing system that it is and heal themselves from death, but then don't adopt it as a lifestyle. Just kind of go back to the old way of life, and it's not really logical, but addiction's not logical. And so I encourage people, instead of waiting until you're on your deathbed and remembering, years ago, decades ago, I saw this guy Spira with these videos. And it starts making sense to you then. Don't be that person. Don't wait for 20 years or 10 years or something, or you start blowing your nose and you're coughing up phlegm and you start remembering, hey, that mucus guy, what was he was talking about something. Like, no, don't be that. Get into it now. Like, this is the best time. This is the best time of your life to get started right now. Check out the Mucusless Diet Healing System. If you're already into it, you can kick it up a notch, or just focus on the groove. We use a word like the groove. Get into the groove, plateau point groove, because you should feel it. It should feel good. And if you get to a point where it's not really feeling good, you're probably pushing too hard. So ease up a little bit. Get back into. We showed you some things here. A lot of people don't talk about that on diet. Baked and stewed fruit. That's mucus. If you see somebody talking about that within the context of a diet, that's Mucusless Diet Healing System. I've never heard anybody else talk about and really champion baked and stewed fruits. And so it's very, very important, as Ixteriolo was saying, very important space of the transition. A place, a destination, some place that you hang out for a while and get the benefits of the baked and stewed fruit, baked and stewed vegetables, mucus-free vegetables. I mean, that's where it's at. So thank you all for tuning in. And again, I want to thank our sponsors, NordVPN. If you'd like to support the show and you don't have this privacy protection that you should have on your computer and on your cell phone, click the link down below, get up to 72% off when you check them out. NordVPN, great. I've used them for almost a decade. Protect your privacy, protect yourself online when you're searching. You don't need governments having access to what you're looking at and where you're surfing on the web. Protect yourself with NordVPN. And so yeah, and as always, I truly appreciate you being here. Until next time, peace, love, and breath.
We are mucus free. 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 We are mucus free.